Hey, it's Ben from Fisher Digital. I've heard a lot of myths surrounding the Vision Pro, or at least misconceptions of some kind, including myself before I got my own Vision Pro. I'd like to clear up some of those misconceptions or myths. And I'd like to start off with probably the biggest one. There's a lot of videos showing people placing windows in their house, and they stay in place as they walk around, and it works really well actually. So yes, that's true, you can do that, but it's not very practical because at some point it's all going to get reset for one reason or another. It could be because visionOS is just still kind of glitchy and the apps will just not work eventually. I've had them stop working on me multiple times this past week. It could be because you need to open an app when you're not nearby where you placed it before, and so you have to reopen it and it will lose its place. It does remember between sessions, so if you take the headset off and then put it back on later, it should remember where they were unless you've powered off the device, then it will forget everything. If you need to recenter for whatever reason by holding the digital crown down, it will also reset everything. So while it does work, yes, it is not super practical because you'd have to keep resetting that up multiple times over and over and over. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's super awesome. I just want to clear up the misconceptions because it's less awesome when you consider the real world practicality of it. Before getting it, I thought you could resize the windows and move them wherever you wanted in the virtual environment. And there's actually limits on those things. You can only make a window so big or so small, and you can only push it so far away from you and pull it so close to you. And they're in reasonable limits. I understand why it is that way. I just thought there was more customization to it. The biggest reason why that is a bummer, in my opinion, is because of in the promotional videos, it shows the window going out over the lake on Mount Hood, and the content's all reflective. And yes, you can do that, but it's only in a specific mode in the Apple TV app. So it's not like any movie you want to watch, you can have that experience. It's only the movies in the Apple TV app that you are able to have that view. You can still open the window and place it pretty much wherever you want, but to have it the 100-foot screen with reflective waters or whatever environment you're in, the light from the screen will interact with the environment around you. That feature is limited to Apple TV movies. This one's already been pointed out by a lot of others, but EyeSight is not what it looked like in the marketing material. I do think the concept is going in the right direction. The execution has all the characteristics of first gen. I'll be curious to see if they decide to ditch it altogether or if they're going to continue to try and improve it and to get it to a point that they were probably initially imagining from the design phase. I'm sure their intention behind EyeSight was to not isolate the user from the rest of the people around them, and I do think that is a good principle. We'll see where they're able to take it in the future. If you think the eye tracking and the whole software experience is flawless, you'll be disappointed. I had a lot more confidence in the actual software and the eye tracking, so as I've been using it, I've noticed all the flaws in it. Don't get me wrong, it works incredibly well, but it is not perfect. I can guarantee that you've experienced something similar on your smartphone where the touchscreen just stops accepting input. The touchscreens are really good, but they're not perfect either. They'll have flaws once in a while. Eye tracking, maybe a little more glitchy than the iPhone touchscreen. It's still usable, it's still really good, but it's not perfect. As far as visionOS in general, I've had a lot of apps crash. I've had to force quit some apps. I've had apps not open. I've learned what the workaround is. I'm fully expecting the future for it to be a lot more stable, especially as they're getting all this real world use now from thousands of people. I'm fully expecting the software experience to get a lot better. And even though it's not perfect, it's still really fun to play with. This myth is a little one, but worth noting still. I've heard a few people talking about when you're using the keyboard and you're using the eye tracking, that you can't see what you're typing out because you're looking at the letters, and then when it comes time to erase it, you have to just kind of count in your head how many letters you're erasing. That's not true. You can actually look at the text field. As you start erasing, the text field pops up an erase button as well. And so you're able to look at the text field on top of the keyboard. Look at that, and you're able to see much easier what you're erasing as you're erasing it. I've heard people say you can absolutely use your phone and watch while you have the headset on. I've heard people say that you can't use it. They're both right, kind of. Because you're looking at the world through cameras, and I believe these cameras have a fixed focal length, the minimum distance that you can get to the device before things get blurry is about 1.5 feet away from your face. Enough that you can see your watch if you hold it out a ways, or hold your phone a good distance from your face. I have small text on my phone. I am able to see most of my phone. It's not a great experience. I don't want to pull my phone out and use it all the time, but it is doable. So the myth here is that you cannot use your phone or watch, where technically you can. However, it's not super clear. I'm sure you've seen the videos of people walking around doing this nonsense. They're full of it. They're not actually doing anything. And if they are, I have no clue what they're doing. Pretty sure it's just for attention. If you're walking, your windows are going to stay where they're at. They're really good at staying where they're at. So unless you're holding it with you and walking like this, your window is going to be behind you. That's why they enabled travel mode, because if you get in a car and start driving off, your window is staying back where it was. But travel mode, the gyroscope and other sensors are disabled to make it more stationary, so you can't even get up and walk around. But anyway, those people doing this, myth. I've heard a lot of talk about VR being isolating, and that Apple is also contributing to that, just creating an isolation device. And I disagree with that. I think that's a myth. Going back to what I was talking about with the EyeSight feature, the entire purpose of that feature is to not isolate somebody while they're wearing the headset. EyeSight does not benefit the user as much as it benefits the people around the user. And in addition to that, Apple is very intentional about making pass-through the default. You're able to see your surroundings by default. And even in the developer documentation, they strongly advise to use full immersion minimally. If you can use your app with pass-through, that's the preferred method. It is capable of doing full immersion, but the preference is to use pass-through and not cutting you off from the real world. I haven't heard a lot of talk about this one, but I have heard it. Since your eyes are being tracked, that will be exploited by advertisers or an invasion of your privacy because of what you're looking at. Thankfully, Apple took that into consideration when they were developing this, because they've put that eye tracking behind a protective barrier. So only the operating system has access to that, and it's all on device. None of it is being processed by Apple. It's all very private and secure. Developers don't have access to what you're looking at, so they won't be able to track what you're looking at and the amount of time that you're looking at things. That can't be exploited. It's protected because of the way Apple set it up. And as far as ads go, I saw comments in the videos of people placing app windows all around their house in specific places. I saw comments about, oh great, now they can just fill my house with ads. I don't think that's happening. I think Apple is very deliberate on the user experience. Granted, if an app chose to use advertising in their app and you have that app window open, then yeah, maybe there'll be ads in that. But as far as ads just popping up in front of you like spam, that's not gonna happen. Lastly, there's been a lot of talk about whether this is a good thing for society. I understand this is new ground. It's unknown territory. So anything's possible, I suppose. But I really am optimistic about this. I think the negative effects technology have had on society have already taken place. I don't know that they'll get much worse. People are already so addicted to their phones that having spatial computing is not going to make much of a difference for them. On the flip side, for those that have a healthy relationship with their phones and technology in general, this is just another piece of tech that they're able to use to their benefit, whether it be entertainment or productivity or whatever. But I think the damage has been done, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm tending to look at the bright side of things where this can be good. Again, I understand that it's unknown. I understand there's dangers to it, just like everything. I'd say dystopia is a myth. And there you have it. A few myths and misconceptions that I have tried to clear up as best as I can. I have some more content coming about Vision Pro and my time using it this past week, including features that I'd like to see in the future. If that's something that interests you, consider following along and subscribing. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.